Hello everyone, I am Professor Shivchilesh Guddodgi. Welcome you to the lecture series on database management system. We are discussing the module number 1 and lecture number 3. So in the today's class we are going to discuss about the three schema architecture, the data independence, DBMS languages and DBMS interfaces, and finally the database system environment. At the end of this class, the student will have a better understanding of three schema architecture and database system environment. So in the last class, we have discussed about the advantages of using the DBMS. So we have listed 9 advantages like controlling the redundancy, giving the different privileges to the users, then backup facility, then recovery, then persistent data storage. These are all the advantages that are given by the DBMS software, which is not possible in the traditional file system. Then after that, we have discussed the data models. So in that, we have discussed three types of data models. So the high level model, in the case of high level data model, so the data is represented in the form of ER diagram. And second one, we have discussed about the low level or the implementation, where in this case, we are storing the data related to like what is the file format, so what is the access path. So those are all things will be stored in the low level data. And the third one is the representational. So in the case of representation, the data is stored in the form of table like structure. So after that, we have discussed about this schema. So schema, we said that the description of the database without having any value. So that means it will only have the column names or attributes. So there is no any actual data. So that's why the schema is also called as the intention of the database. Now, so if we are representing the schema in a using in a diagrammatical form or a pictorial form, then that diagram we call it as a schema diagram. So then after that, we have discussed about the instance or a database state. So the number of rows at any given point of time is called as the database state. So what is the difference between a schema and a database state? So schema doesn't have any actual data other than the columns, whereas the database state, along with the columns, it will also has the actual data. So that's why the database state is called as the extension of the schema. So these database state can also called as the instances or can also called as the occurrences. Let us see regarding the three schema architecture. So important concept from your first module. The goal of the three schema architecture is to separate the user applications from the physical database. As you can see from this diagram, so the physical actual database is at the user database and the end users are at the top level. Okay. To provide a separation between the user application, consider that the application he has using is e-ticket booking. Okay, he is booking the e-ticket. So e-ticket can be like for a railway or for the flight or for the bus. So he is booking a ticket. Okay. Now, to separate that e-ticket application from the actual stored database, we are using the three schema architecture. So this three schema architecture is divided into three levels. So the first one is the internal level. As you can see that the first one is the internal level and second one is the conceptual level. Okay. And the third one is the external level. The third one is at the external level to provide the external view. Now let us see regarding these levels one by one once again. Now the internal level is used only in the internal schema. As you can see that So this internal level is used in the internal schema. So which describes the actual physical storage structure of the database. So this is how whatever that consider that if there is a student table or if there is a course table or if there is a prerequisite table, all this table how physically stored. So it will be given by using the internal level. So the internal level can be implemented in the internal schema. So this internal schema uses the physical data model and it describes the complete details of the data storage and the access path for the database. Consider that if the student table is stored in the E drive in a database folder, so those all access paths will be given by the internal level. So you can compare this internal level with the, so for implementing the internal level, we can use the low level model because the low level data model will also store the access paths and all. So the internal level is also showing the same thing. Okay. The second level we are using is the conceptual level. So the conceptual level has the conceptual schema. Okay, as you can see that. So this conceptual level will have the conceptual schema and it describes the structure of the whole database for a community of the user. So consider that if our student database has the 5 tables, all the 5 tables will be represented in the conceptual level only. Okay. So this conceptual schema hides the details of the physical storage and structures and concentrates on the describing the entities, data types, relations, and the user operations and the constants. Now consider that if you are storing the student database, so in the student database there is a student is a one table. So in that table, so the conceptual schema only tell you about the entities. So here it can be the entities is like student, course and all. These are all the entities. And it will also tell you the number of columns each table is having. What are its data types? Data types will be like char, integer, big int, date. These are all the data types. And what are its constraints? So constraints will be like not null or it should have the unique value. These are all will be specified in the conceptual level and it hides the actual physical storage because the physical storage it will be done by the internal level. So that's why, so the conceptual level hides this physical storage weaving to the external users. A high level data model or an implementation of a data model can be used. For this representation of this one, either we can use the high level data model or you can also use the implementation data model. For the internal level, you must and should use the low level data model. To represent the conceptual level, you can use the high level data model. Then the third one is the external or the view model. So the external or a view model includes the number of external schemas and the user views. So these are the, consider that for a student there is a separate view, for a faculty there is a separate view, for a HOD there is a separate view, for a principal there is a separate view. So these are all these different perspectives or the views. It will be supported by the external level. Okay. Then each external schema describes the part of the database that a particular user or a group is interested in and hides the rest of the database from that user groups. Now consider for a student is only interested in his own data. He is not bothered about his friend's data. Okay. So for that is what it hides the other student data. It only show his data and hides other student data. But for a faculty, all student data can be visible for 5th semester. Now for the HOD, so the HOD can view the data of 3rd sem, 5th sem and the 7th sem only for the computer science student. Now for the principal, So the principal can view the first semester, third semester, fifth semester, seventh semester from all the different departments. Okay, and it also has the information of other college students. So that is what the external level or the view level will be used. For the external level, either you can use the high level data model or the implementation data model can be used at this level. Now that means for the external level and for the conceptual level, you can use the high level data model, and for the implementation of the internal level, you should use the low level data model. Now, as you can see from this mappings, so what this will do? So these mappings will convert the external level to the conceptual mapping will be done. So that means whatever the user will be specified, that data will be converted to the conceptual level data. Now, whatever the conceptual level data, it will be once again mapped to the internal level. Now, so this is from the top to top down approach. Now, if you go from the bottom up approach, so that's why you can see that arrow mark on the both the sides. So that means internal level data can be mapped to the conceptual level data, and the conceptual level data can be mapped to the external level data. That's why those mappings are bidirectional. So that means external to the conceptual, conceptual to the internal, or from the internal to the conceptual, and from the conceptual to the external level. Now, so this three schema architecture will also provide the data independence. So what is meant by the data independence? So the data independence can be defined as the capacity to change the schema at one level of a database system without having to change the schema at the next higher level. Now that means if I change the schema at the internal level, so it will not affect the conceptual level or the external level. Or if I change the schema at the conceptual level, so it will not show in the external level. So that is what the data is independent of all the levels. So that means external level is independent of the conceptual level is independent of the internal level. Now there are two types of data independences are there. So first one is the logical data independence. Second one is the physical data independence. Now let us see, in the case of logical data independence, so the capacity to change the conceptual schema without having to change the external schema and their associated application programs. Now consider that if you are changing the schema at the conceptual level, so it will not affect the any external layout of view of other users. So this type of data independence, we call it as the logical data independence. That means you are changing the schema. Changing the schema means either you are adding a column or you are deleting a column. So this adding or a deletion, this schema change will not affect the external level or external schema or external view. So that type of data independence, we call it as a logical data independence. So here in this case, we can change the conceptual schema by adding a data item or by removing a data item. So removing a data item or adding a means adding a column or deleting a column. By doing that, you can change the schema. Then the second type of data independence is a physical data independence. In the case of physical data independence, we are changing the internal schema without having to change the conceptual schema or a external schema. That means here I am changing the internal schema, but it is not affecting the conceptual schema. So this type of data independence, we call it as the physical data independence. For example, the internal schema can be changed when certain file structures are reorganized or new indices are created to improve the database performance. For example, instead of storing in a D drive, I may store it in a E drive. So, but it should not affect, it will not affect the conceptual schema. So this one we call it as a physical data independence. Now, so the DBMS languages, as we know that we are using the C programming is a language to interact with the computer. Now to interact with the DBMS, we must and should have some languages. So why are we using these languages? So these languages will define and manipulate the database. To interact with the database, I must and should have some languages. So the DBMS has 4 types of languages. The first one is the data definition language, usually call it as a DDL. Then a data manipulation language, DML. Data control language, DCL. Then transaction control language, that is TCL. Now let us see in detail regarding each of this language. So the first one is data definition language, so famously known as DDL. So the DDL is used by the DBA, that is a database administrator, and database designers to specify the conceptual schema of a database. That means whenever you are defining the database, so that time you are going to use the DDL language, that is a data definition language. So in many DBMS, the DDL is also used to define the internal and the external schemas. So the most important statements or the commands that are there in a DDL are, so create. So the create is used to create the objects in the database. So here in this case, objects means we are used to create the tables. Using the create statement, we are going to create the tables in the database. Alter means used to alter the structure of the database. Altering means either I'm adding a column or deleting a column. So that we call it as a alter. So this is also once again comes in the DDL language only. Then the third one is the drop. So the drop is used to delete the tables from the database. That means it will completely eliminate the structure from the database. Then the second type of language is data manipulation language. As name itself says, the manipulation, it is used for accessing and manipulating data in the databases. So it handles all the user requests. So for the manipulation, if you are writing any statement, so those all statements will come in a DML. The most famous statements are select. So the select is used to retrieve the data from a database. Consider that if out of 65 students, if I'm interested to select only 5 students, then I will use the select statement. Then the second statement we are using is an insert. So the insert is used to insert data into table. Then update is used to update the existing data within a table. So existing data within a table means, consider that you have given an address as Dharwad. Now you are shifted to the Hubli. So in the place of Dharwad, I need to update it to the Hubli. So that is what the update. So the difference between, don't get confused with the alter and a update. Alter is used to add one column or delete one column, whereas the update means already some data is there. So that data you are changing, that data you are manipulating, that data you are updating. So for that you are using the update statement. Then the fourth one is the delete. So the delete is used to delete all the records from the table. So there is a difference between a delete and a drop. So delete will delete all the rows, but the skeleton will be there. But in the case of a drop, so everything including the skeleton is also removed from the database. Then the third type of language is the data control language. So the data control language is used to retrieve the stored or saved data. So the DCL execution happens in a transactional manner. It has some rollback parameters. The most famous statements in the DCL are grant and the revoke. So the grant statement is used whenever you are giving the access privilege to a database. Consider that I am a new user. For me, if you are giving me read, write, and execute permission, so that means you are granting me some access privileges. So this grant is a data control language. Now consider that after fifth semester you are leaving this data lab. So that time what I'm going to do, I will remove all the privileges that I have given to you. So that means I am revoking. Revoking means I am taking back. I am removing whatever the permission that are already given. So that statement we call it as a revoke. Then the final language, DBMS language, is a transaction control language, that is a TCL. So the TCL used to run the changes made by the DML statements. So consider that if I have inserted the 5 rows, after inserting the 5 rows, if you want to save that data, for that purpose I'm using the transaction control language. So for that I'm using the two important statements. One is the commit. So the commit is like saving the transaction. Commit means simply save option. So then what is meant by the rollback? Rollback is like undo operation. Rollback is like undo. So consider that you have inserted the 5 statements. So if you want to remove those things, you just tell it as rollback. So what the rollback will do? Rollback will restore the previous original since the last commit. Now, the DBMS can be accessed by different types of interfaces. Okay. So the DBMS interface is a user interface which helps to input the queries to a database without using the query language. Now consider that I'm a layman user. I don't know how to write the queries and all. Okay, I have not studied the DBMS subject. I don't know any SQL. So then how do I give the query to the application? For that I'm using some of the DBMS interfaces. The first one is the menu based interfaces for the browsing. Second one is the form based interfaces. Third one is the graphical user interfaces. Fourth one is the natural language interfaces. Fifth one is the interfaces for parametric users. Last one is interfaces for the database administrator. So let us see one by one. So in the case of menu based interfaces for the browsing, here in this case the interfaces, what they are going to represent you. So they will present the users with a list of options called the menus. For example, if you have seen the ATM, so in the ATM they will give you the menus for the withdrawal, balance inquiry, mobile update, Aadhaar update. So they will represent you the menus. So that is what one thing of an ATM. And the second one is the form based interfaces. In a form based interfaces, so each user will get the form. So hope you have used the form based interfaces. So if you remember, every Google form that you are updating is a form based interfaces. So here in this case, if I give it as a name, you are giving you the name there. Then I will tell you the USN. You are entering the USN. So that is one best example of form based interface. Or you can also use the e-ticket reservation system. Then the third one is the graphical user interfaces. Here we are using a display of a schema to the user in a diagrammatic form. If you are giving the database in a diagrammatic form, then you are using the GUI. For selection of any particular event, we are going to use a pointing device. In particularly, we are going to use a mouse. So consider that there is a third semester, there is a fifth semester, there is a seventh semester. So they are displaying like a graphical user interfaces. If I want to select the fifth semester, what I'm going to do? I'm going to use the mouse and I'm going to click on a fifth sem CSE. So this is an example for the GUI, that is a graphical user interface. Then the fourth one is the natural language interfaces. So what are the natural language interfaces it will do? So it will accept the request written in a English or some other language and attempt to understand them. So this natural language interfaces always refer to some standard words. So the best example is a Google search engine or the iPhone application Siri, or you can also say it as a Google Alexa. So there will be some particular standard words will be there. If you speak those words, so the Alexa will understand if there's a, what is the weather report, Alexa. If I ask, it will tell what is the weather today in Haliyar or a Dharwad. So that is what like I am asking, I am retrieving some information, just giving the instruction in a English like statement. For that, I'm using the natural language interfaces. Then the fifth one is using the parametric interfaces for the parametric users. So as I said that the parametric means they will perform some set of operations repeatedly, such as like bank tellers. The main goal of the interfaces here in this case, it should have the minimum number of keystrokes for the required for each request. Consider that if I'm checking the account balance, I need to click only one thing and it should display the many account details of a user. It should not have the many keystrokes, like you need not click the 4 to 5 times. On one click of a button, I should get the account details. Then the finally is interfaces for a DBA. So these include the commands for creating the accounts, then setting a system parameters, granting a account authorization, changing a schema, and organizing the storage structure of a database. So these are all things will be done in the interfaces for a DBA. Now, in the case of a database system environment, as you can see that, so this one, it will be divided into the two types. So the upper half, you can see that there are many users are there. And the second one is how actually the query and the transaction will be executed. Now, as you already discussed that in the database, all the users are broadly classified into two: actors on the scene and actors behind the scene. Now, as you can see that there is a DBA staff, that is a database administrator. So the DBA can execute the DDL statement, or it can also have some privileged commands. So what the DDL will do? So the DDL will either create the table, or it can create the database, or it can also alter, or it can drop. So after writing those statements, if I write create a table student, after writing that statement, all these statements should be compiled by using the DDL compiler. Okay. So that means compiler will check whether whatever the statement or a query that you have written, whether this one is correct or not, it will be compiled by using the DDL compiler. Now the casual users, so that is what we have discussed, that is the end users. So what the casual users will do? So casual users will write the interactive query. So how they will write the interactive query? So the interactive query can be done by using the any of the database interfaces. Either they can use the Google form, or they can use the GUI, or whether they can use the menu. Using that, they will write the query. That query will be sent for the query compiler. As I said that, so whatever the query, so that query or a statement must and should be compiled. Now after that, so that query compiled will be sent to the optimizer. So why it will be sent for the optimizer? To increase the performance. Now after that, we are seeing the application programmers. So what the application programmers are doing? So actual application programmers are the one who has written the application. So for example, e-ticket reservation. So this will be developed by the application programs. So what they are doing? They are writing the application program. So ticket reservation system. So what I am going to do, that ticket reservation system should be compiled first. Okay, it will be compiled and it will be sent to the host language compiler. Host language compiler means you may be written the ticket reservation system using either the Java language or a C language, or you are using the Python. So depending on the language you are written, so that application program will be sent to the host language compiler. Host language compiler means either the host language can be the Java, Python, C, C++, or PHP. It will be sent to that one. Now after that, so all the transactions will be, what we are going to do, once again those statements will be the compiled once again. So what the DML stands for? DML will manipulate. So manipulate means either the select, delete, update. Those statements will be executed in the DML compiler. Then finally it will be sent to the compiled transaction. So now what the parametrics users will do? So the parametrics users will always execute a small set of instructions repeatedly. For example, the bank employees. So those instructions are also once again compiled by transaction. Now all these things will be sent, it will be combined and it will be sent to the runtime data processor. Okay. So whether the instructions from the DBA or from the casual users or from the application programmers or the parametric users, all these queries will be sent to the runtime data processor for the process of, as you can see, DBA commands are will also there. There is a queries and also there is a transaction. So the transaction here you can refer it as canned transaction. Now, so this database administrator has a connection with the system catalog or a data dictionary. So this data dictionary has a connection with every object that are there in a system environment. As I said that a data catalog will be there or a metadata will be there. The same way the system environment will also have the system catalog. So it will have the information about all the objects that are there in a database system environment. Now this random database processor has a connection with the stored data manager, and this it will have the, actually it will be the data will be stored in a stored database. Okay. So now the stored database will tell actual physical data stored in a stored database. Now for any input and the output from the database, it will be sent to the stored data manager. Now while you are storing the runtime database processor to the stored database, we need to take the concurrency control, and there should be a backup should be taken for the recovery of the data. Now every database system has some of the utilities. So what these utilities will do? These utilities will help the DBA in managing the database system. So it has some of the functions like loading. A loading utility is used to load the existing data files such as text files or a sequential file into the database. So now consider that if the data text file is already there, if you want to store that database onto the some file, so that means what I'm going to do, I'm load that file. So this process we call it as a loading utility. So the second utility is a backup. A backup utility creates a backup copy of the database, usually by dumping the entire database onto the tape. So consider that you may be taking the WhatsApp backup. So what it will do? So it will take all the data and it is going to store in a secondary disk. So that is a backup utility. Then the third one is the file reorganization. So this utility can be used to reorganizing a database file into different file organization to improve the performance. Consider that if there are 5 files, out of the 5 files, only 2 files are accessed frequently. That means I will keep those 2 files in a easier access manner compared to the other 3. Then the last utility of the database is performance monitoring. So this utility is used to monitor the database usage and they provide statistics to the DBA. So to summarize the things, in today's class we have discussed about the 3 schema architecture. In that we have discussed there are 3 levels. So the internal level is implemented in the internal schema. Then there is a conceptual level which is implemented by the conceptual schema. Then there is an external level which is implemented by the external views. Then after that we have discussed about the data independence. In the data independence, once again, we have discussed about the two types. One is the logical data independence. That means we are changing the data in the conceptual level, but it is not affecting the external level. And the second one is the physical data independence. That means we are changing the data in the internal level, but it is not affecting in the conceptual level. Then after that, we have discussed about the DBMS languages. We said that we have discussed there are 4 types of DBMS language. First one is the data definition language, data manipulation language, data control language, and transaction control language. Then after that, we have discussed about the DBMS interfaces. We have discussed 6 types of DBMS interfaces like menu based, GUI, then form based, then parametric users, then for the interfaces for the DBA. Then finally, we have discussed about the database system environment. Thank you.